What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about NIO, I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is down 1.59%, 340 the low, 348 the high, 23.1 million shares being traded, 31 is the average. So kind of low volume, but as per usual, I'm sure you guys are getting tired of me saying it, but majority of the volume is linked to algorithmic trading. So it doesn't really help the fact that Wall Street really does hate NIO, and which is rather odd because, as I've mentioned, a lot of individuals are starting to really look at NIO as a good value play. But coming from an institutional standpoint, you're not seeing that level of commitment. So maybe they're waiting for some sort of deal or more clarity on a geopolitical standpoint. But right now, only one transaction occurring on the secondary market above $100,000, and it is a sell for $107,000. So institutions, like I said, aren't really getting behind the whole value play type of mentality. But even looking on the dark pool, you don't really see that many transactions, a lot of which is linked to shorts. So I'll go over what shorts are doing. But today, nothing on a macro standpoint, so nothing coming really out from China, no stimulus update or anything along those lines. Specific to NIO though, they did put this out. So NIO releases statement on partner change in Macau. And so ultimately, as of, looks like July the 1st, HongYou Group is going to be that new partner. So that's good. From my basic research, it does look like this HongYou Group is a little bit more well known ultimately, so that's kind of a good thing. And it does mention in here that there won't be any kind of issues transitioning. So yeah, honestly, I don't really see this being that crazy. In my opinion, this did allude to the abnormal volume that happened in the pre-market. So under my other YouTube channel, Trending Stocks, I do a pre-market video, and I actually did bring up NIO because it was top 10 most heavily traded. So a lot of money was getting in, and even if you look at the pre-market, there was a lot of optimism. But as per usual, once the market does open, this is where kind of all hell breaks loose. So in my opinion, I think maybe some algos were buying based on this, but clearly, that was rather short-lived. I see a lot of people saying that it is short today, really bringing NIO down. That's not necessarily the case. As of right now, shorts are returning 1.47 million shares. 13.15% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 202.93 million shares overall are being shorted. I'm sure some of you might be wondering, why is this kind of the lower short interest? How did it drop all of a sudden? So ultimately, 2 times per month, this is where the exchanges do disclose the true amount of shares being shorted. So New York Stock Exchange did state that as of June the 12th, there was 197.49 million shares overall are being shorted. So last that we did know, it was 204. So ultimately, between May the 29th and June the 12th, shorts did return roughly more, about 7 million, 7.1 million, more than what we previously knew. And of course, a lot of that is done through the dark pool just to hide transactions. So while NIO did pretty much show some signs of really pushing higher, shorts were returning, like I said, 7.5 rounding up million shares more than what we thought. So of course, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to determine that if shorts were returning, obviously that does mean that they were adding buying pressure. Institutions were selling during this period to really push it down, or again, algorithmic trading, but still nonetheless not all that great. Looking at the options, 2.06 million in calls, 1.32 in puts, 63% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. And most of that was actually while NIO was at the bottom. So you do see 816,000 in premiums between 1045 and 1050, and then 344,000 between 1115 and 1120. So some institutions were kind of calling the bottom. Then again, it could also be shorts just hedging. So something to keep in mind. But from the bulls, you do see a consensus for it to be above 350, bears for it to be sub kind of 350. So clearly 350 is a key pivot. Right now though, with that 342, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. 339 is going to be a strong support, so kind of bounced off that general area, and then 347 is going to be the next strong target size resistance, and similarly kind of did bounce off of that as well. So it is just simply wedge bound between these 2 points, so just kind of keep note of that. And as well, if you're looking at averaging down, you have 339, 335, and then 328 as the support levels. Aside from that, no new analyst ratings, no real articles coming out or anything. So it is just simply, as I've mentioned, piggybacking off of the broader market, but adding in a little dash of manipulation through algorithmic trading. But aside from all that fun stuff on the actual chart, there's not really too much to bring up aside from the fact that it is relatively oversold, and you can tell that based on stochastic RSI. So you have that 50-day moving average at 378. So that's going to be something that you really want to watch for it to get above. Currently it is below the ALMA of 345. So a lot of things to keep in mind, and as I've kind of brought up in the past couple of videos, NIO is a very frustrating stock. I think that they are making a lot of good progress, but they just keep giving themselves more and more headaches by setting very, some would say, unrealistic milestones and targets that they cannot hit, such as for Onvo, the 25,000 a month target. That is most likely not really going to be done by Q4, but what do I know in life? So let me know your thoughts on NIO. What do you think the next big catalyst is? Do you think that, going back over here, this is something to stop what you're doing and buy NIO over? Or do you think it's just somewhat okay news? And what's your general thoughts on, for instance, shorts returning during May the 29th and June the 12th? What's your kind of thoughts on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Give yourself a shout out if you've been buying, if you've been selling, and what you've been doing. And then one final thing, pop over to my Discord. A lot of good people there. It is completely free, talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. So link to that is in the description below and also comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.